Hello and welcome to the One People Show. Hello and welcome everyone to this week's live studio audience pre-record of the One People Roundtable. So we have around 30 people in our live audience this week, and welcome Dee.
Hello darling, how you doing?
I'm good. There's a couple of things that I wanted to touch on this week. But before we get to that, there was another Mandela effect that popped up this morning for me in relation to the mamas and the papas. And the interesting thing was there was two clips. I saw two apparently original clips from the 60s of them singing the song live, which is California Dreaming, with two very different lyrics. And the thing about this one was it's not like, no, I am your father, or Luke, I am your father, which essentially doesn't change the meaning. And it's not like life is a box of chocolates or life was a box of chocolates, which just changes the tense. This one changes the meaning completely.
Yep.
So for those of you who might be familiar with the song, the line this particular line says, now there's two versions of this part too. I stepped into a church, or I stopped into a church.
Yeah.
I got down on my knees, and the version that most people, hang on, we've got somebody with their camera on. How did that happen? Cameras off, everybody, please. Thank you. The version that most people remember is, I got down on my knees and I began to pray. And the first clip that I saw showed them singing exactly that. And then the second clip showed, I got down on my knees, I get down on my knees, and I pretend to pray. Now that changes the whole meaning. It changes, that's significant.
Yeah.
And for me, the mamas and the papas songs were always a little bit kind of Christian-y, folky, you know. So to pretend to pray for them, that to me was significant.
Yeah.
And you said your girlfriend Nicole had a story around this.
Okay, and I read it this morning, so I'm not reading it now, so I'm going to try and quote it. I'll do my best. If I screwed up, Nicole, forgive me. So she read the whole thing from the Unfuckers group about I began to pray, I pretend to pray. So she gets her kids and they put on one of the recordings. So you go to YouTube and you go like original mamas and papas, and they click it and they hear the original that is, and I began to pray. And then someone in the group posts another one that is supposed to be one of the originals, again, filmed back in the 60s, and they click that one, and she hears the guys say, I began to pray, but the girls say, I pretend to pray. Then they go back, and she stops it, and then I can't remember if one of the kids had come back, and she goes, listen. She plays it again. Exact same video. Everyone says, I pretend to pray. And she was like, I shit you fucking not.
The same video.
We watched it in a matter of minutes go from, it was like you saw it change in the transition of it. And she was just like, but it kind of that same thing comes into the whole like we talked about with people in the Lord's Prayer thing, when people went and asked people, and they'd say, recite the Lord's Prayer, and it would be like, and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sinned against us. And then they would tell them, well, now it's forgive us our debts. And they'd watch people go, yes, it's forgive us our debts. And download it goes, right? And this is getting into some seriously trippy shit that we're seeing now. Like, really trippy. And people catching that moment. Like, I mean, the one with the Lord's Prayer, there was about 7 people in the Unfuckers room who actually physically saw the moment with talking to people of that, almost like you say, like that download of like they glaze over and then they come back, oh, no, it's forgive us our debts. Whereas, 30 seconds prior to that, they'd said, forgive us our sins.
Yeah. But to watch it transition digitally, that's new.
It's a digital world.
I know. I mean, we can see the evidence that the physical world is changing. On book covers, on album covers, that sort of thing. But digitally, I know, that's wild.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm kind of like this. Like every week, I'm like, oh, what are we going to see this week? What's going to be this week? And you, for example, with the kids, we're just watching Return of the Jedi today, the boys. And at one point, it's like one of the climactic. It was after the Luke, I'm your father bullshit. But we were listening for the and I kind of caught a couple of lines that I know are big lines, and I found myself listening to hear if there was any changes. Do you know what I mean? You're like, is there going to be another change? Could there be another change? Oh, everyone's coming in their videos. Turn your videos off, guys.
Okay, I don't know how we can stop that from happening when people join.
I don't know. We're just going to have to. I know there's a way of doing it, love. I know there's a way of doing it. Yeah, and everyone who's around will just figure it out, I guess. Wow. Train the audience, post it to Facebook. Exactly. Guys, when you come in, mute your mics, don't have your cameras on. No, so I when you see old shows go by and I'm always kind of watching now. I have this half an ear out listening for any changes that just might kind of come up. Yeah, I know the AZ lyric says pretend to play. Oh, I can't even talk today.
Pretend to pray. Shit. Yeah, like I said, I saw 2 clips, the 2 completely different versions that were authentic mamas and papas playing live from the 60s. Yeah. Okay, the more what's the word? Disturbing, perhaps, discussion that came up was around false flags. And, people sort of sharing on Facebook that an incident, whether it's this latest one in California or whatever, is a false flag. And then getting people getting very, very upset. And you do get the odd person who says, I'm actually going to a funeral, or I know somebody who knows somebody who died, or whatever. And we need to make a distinction between a false flag and a fake flag.
Yep.
The false flag does not mean that people didn't die. What it means is the official story that we're being told on mainstream media is completely bullshit, and that it is a usually homegrown government coordinated faked event with an agenda on home turf, and that the people probably did not die in the way stated.
Or for the reasons, definitely not for the reasons stated.
by the persons stated.
Yeah.
Then you've got a fake, which is kind of like your Sandy Hook. That seems to be completely fake from start to finish, and the chances are no one died.
Yeah. The reporter being shot on live TV a couple of months ago was a complete fake flag. No one died. It didn't happen. It was completely 100% staged.
So there is a story, an event that happened here in Australia back in 1996, which if you're outside of Australia, you may not have heard much about. It's called the Port Arthur Massacre. Yeah, please keep your cameras off. That'd be great. And it was in Tasmania. Port Arthur was a prison colony, pretty much in the most remote part, not only of Australia, which makes it the most remote part of the frigging planet. Okay. Please keep cameras off.
Guys, I'm going to put a note in here saying,
Thank you.
okay, and I'm going to put a note in Facebook. So go ahead, you talk. I will type.
Okay. So Port Arthur was a prison colony, and for many years it's been a tourist attraction run by the Tasmanian government. And a young man by the name of Martin Bryant is currently serving something like 35 continuous life sentences for walking into a cafe at the Port Arthur site, opening fire and killing, I think, 35 people and injuring another 20 odd. These people died. There was no question of it. This somebody did walk into the cafe and just opened fire, and then walked out of the cafe and continued to shot people at the entrance. There was a lot of death, a lot of bloodshed, a lot of madness and mayhem. But Martin Bryant, as far as I'm concerned, and many others, did not do it. He's not the person responsible. And there's a couple of things that you can look at if you're interested in this, but I found a video of a lecture that was done back in 2001. And I think it's really great viewing, not specifically for this incident, but to give you an indication of the number of government departments, the long-term coordination and planning, and just how these things get pulled off. And I will put a link in. I'll put a link into the chat room here, but I'll also do it as part of the archive. So you can go and have a look at these. There's 2 clips. They're about an hour long each. One of them is a talk by a woman who worked there, who was actually a triage nurse. She had a lot of medical training and she worked at the facility, and what she experienced. There are so many holes in the official story, so much of legal process that wasn't followed. It took hours for police to arrive, hours. And there's holes all through this thing. And this poor bastard Martin Bryant is serving, he will never leave prison for it. And I'll put the clips in here now. I'll just have to find them. But if you want to do a little bit of a study on how these things are coordinated and how many people have to be involved, that's what it's good for, I feel. Why am I not signed in? But it's a hard conversation to have with some people, because especially if they're close to the event, they live nearby, or they know somebody who was killed, or they know, through a friend of a friend. It does sound like you're being potentially heartless or callous by calling it a false flag, but they need to understand what it means.
Well, and I think that's why it's important to differentiate and create the two terms: false flag, fake flag. Because the false flag, they've been used, and like I said, I've talked about. I wrote quite a large right after the Friday the 13th event. I wrote quite a long article about Operation Gladio and Northwoods, and these are documented, fully admitted to in official government documents, and not just like the American government, but like the Italian government, the Japanese government have fully admitted to Operation Gladio in existence and still up and running. And people have died. The bombing that happened in the subway train in Italy was a false flag, NATO planned event that was done deliberately in Italy because they had an agenda they needed to achieve with the public. And they killed something like, I think it was like 89 people were killed in that bomb attack. And it was proven. The former president of Italy himself said it was Operation Gladio. It was deliberately done. That's what it was. So the problem that I see, is you getting people to look. And it's really interesting because someone posted out a little blurb. It was in the Unfuckers room, and it was basically, these are the things everyone on this planet should be researching. And it talks about Gladio, Northwoods, MK Ultra, HARP, Project Paperclip, etc., etc. So I'm actually in the middle of compiling a bunch of documentation and some of the official government reports on MK Ultra, on Gladio. Put them out there. The problem is getting people to actually get really bad feedback.
Your audio just went weird.
Okay, hold on. I may have to grab my headset. Give me a second. I think I see it. Let's see if this makes it better. If I have to use the headset, I will. So yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is to get people, first of all, is to keep, and we have to do it 1,000 times a day, keep explaining to people over and over that a false flag does not mean that, oh, I can still hear it.
I can't hear anything.
Is that better?
Just that your audio was a little...
No, I can hear like a humming feedback. We'll see. Yeah, explaining to people a false flag does not mean that people didn't die. And the list of false flag events is extensive. The Gulf of Tonkin. Hello, welcome to the Vietnam War. It was a false flag event. It was done deliberately. All of these things, yeah, it does. Sheila, I'm hearing that too, that occasionally it's almost like a sound like an emergency signal kind of is coming through. It's very strange. So yeah, I mean, but how do you get people to look at the information? Yeah, Pearl Harbor, false flag event. Exactly, it was fully planned out. There's been multiple, it's been completely debunked that false flag, that Pearl Harbor was completely planned out by the American government because they needed an excuse to get involved in World War II, and the public refused to be involved. They did not want to have anything to do with World War II. So they set up Pearl Harbor so that they would perpetuate that whole thing to get the people to agree to go to war in World War II.
Sandy in the chat room just said her daughter wouldn't listen to her until she read about Operation Northwoods. She was quite unnerved, understandably. She looked at me and said, Mum, if they did that then, what are they doing now?
Exactly. And that's the thing. Operation Gladio is still operating. It's still being run. It's not never come to an end. It's the same thing with certain things like MK Ultra stuff. If you read the documentation carefully, it never says that it came to an end. And I mean, it's so funny because you jump down and I ran into 3 different ones today I've never heard of. One called, hold on, I'll pull it up. One was called the U.S. Army Internment Resettlement. It's called, what's it called? There's a number to it. Darn. There's an actual number for it. It's like FM 39-40 or something. And it's the U.S. Army. It's a documentation about an internment and resettlement and how to deal with the public for interning the public. Of course, Operation Mockingbird, right? But then you also have Northwood's MK Ultra. Then this one was the Edgewood Arsenal human experiments that were done at Edgewood Base.
Dan, yep. Just a second, but you're taking up a lot more screen than I am. So we probably.
Oh, it's because I'm leaning. I can't read it unless I lean forward. Someone get me my glasses. Maybe I'll see my screen then.
So should I just bring mine forward?
No, I'll chill it.
Actually, I think you're actually higher. Is probably part of what it is. So this will be a technically this will be a funny looking show probably.
Yeah, we're just gonna pop a little. Oh, sorry, I woke up the puppy. Damn.
Oh, shit, what was I going to say? Okay, you and I were talking last night, and there was, who was it? Was it the Syrian leader?
Assad?
Was it he that said he had a go at Britain or the UK and the US?
And America. Mm-hmm.
But you said something about he didn't mention France, but then there was a clip this morning where he did mention France that I saw.
Did he mention France in the clip? I didn't. I tried to pull up the clip and I couldn't get it to load this morning. We had some real funky internet issues this morning. He was quoted
as mentioning France. He said that France and I think it was France and the UK don't have the balls to do something. What was it? So, I mean, there are people freaking out right now. I'm seeing, oh my God, World War III is starting. And it's like, oh God, dudes, it's been going for years.
World War II never ended. Actually, World War I never ended. We're still in World War I. Guys, this was never an ending. But here's the thing. Hey, there's Jeff. Jeff, turn off the camera. There's a lot of shit happening. There's a lot of fucking shit happening right now, which is why I think the false flag events in the US is they're trying to keep the Americans distracted. And you've got Iraq and Syria have both made huge statements to big major media outlets about the illegalities of what's going on. Turkey just invaded fucking Iraq on Saturday.
I can't turn your camera off, dude. Can you turn it off at your end? It's not working for some reason.
He's got the magic touch. They know he's the moderator. And we're looking at some bizarre piece of architecture.
Jeff, turn your camera off. It will not work. It will not mute his video.
There you go. So you've got Turkey has basically come into northern Iraq. Now, Turkey has been bombing the PKK in northern Iraq for months now. The guys who are working right next to the Peshmerga fighting ISIS. And the Iraqi government stood up and said, get the fuck out and don't come back.
The question is, what's the PKK stand for?
Okay. I can't actually say it. It's about yay long. I can't say it. The PKK, basically you have the Kurdish militias. Two main Kurdish militias are the Peshmerga, who work in northern Iraq, and the PKK. The PKK has been mostly based around and about, with a lot of it in Turkey, right? The PKK is classified by Turkey in, apparently I have no electricity. Why the hell is that going on? Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Apparently, I'm having an electricity problem. Don't run out of battery, please.
The puppy strike again.
I've got a puppy on my lap asleep, so I can't even get up. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I'll be 2 seconds. I got to do this. We got like 30 seconds of power.
At least we can edit this shit out now. So.
Yeah, okay.
I don't care, Lisa. This is fun.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what the hell just happened.
It's a false flag.
Back on my lap. So, anyways, the PKK have been classified by the Turkish government to be a terrorist organization because Turkey is part of NATO. NATO and the Americans have also classified them as a terrorist organization. But like a lot of these so-called terrorist organizations, they're not actually terrorists. They're people fighting for their homeland. Funny how that works. So the PKK, you have the Peshmerga in Iraq, who are the acceptable Kurdish militias, have been fighting against ISIS for donkeys. And the PKK are right next to them, working with them, being the other Kurdish militia. And Turkey has been going and flying aerial and bombing the PKK campments, even though they're fighting ISIS. And this has been going on. It's been totally, no one says boo. This has been going on for months. This has been going on since August 12th, I think. So now Turkey sent troops into Iraq. And Iraq is saying, I don't fucking think so. Get the fuck out. And not just like, some military leaders. I mean, the actual president of Iraq is basically said, you have 48 hours to get your troops off of our land, or we're going to the United Nations Security Council. Days before that, though, the U.S. said that they're sending in special forces, which they already have special forces in Iraq, but they're saying they're going to send in more special forces into Iraq.
Yeah,
and a body again said, I don't fucking think so. You have no legal right to be here. Get the fuck out. We don't want your fucking special forces American troops here. And the Shia militias, which are the militias who are doing all the fighting in Iraq against ISIS, they have made some serious, like generals of the Shia militias are like, the Americans are terrorists. We don't want them. And if they show up here, we're going to bomb the fuck out of them. We will fight the Americans and ISIS. Bring it. And these guys are really not to be fucked with. Like, these guys are like, you're serious. These guys have been fighting terrorism now, i.e. the Americans.
It is such a clusterfuck over there with so many different little acronym franchises of everything. No one knows what the hell's going on. It's so confusing that I can't blame anybody for just putting their hands up and going, I don't care anymore, because I can't understand who's doing what to who and who's friends with who and who's. It's a clusterfuck.
Yep.
Oh my God.
But they don't even want people looking. So we've got oil fell today. Now it stabilized at the closing bell at $37 a barrel. Stabilized. It dropped down to 34 at one point today, so it managed to climb back up to 37. Well, we were up close to 50 again.
Oh, shit.
It plummeted, well, because OPEC made a big announcement, basically said, yeah, we're not going to cut our production, and basically everyone can just do whatever they want. And oil's plummeting.
Now, I wonder whether that will actually end up translating at the pump, though, for anybody.
Yeah, well,
because they've they've gotten us used to paying twice as much for petrol, literally twice.
Yep.
We were, I don't know, 6-7 years ago.
Yep. I know.
Maybe more.
I know. But you've got a lot of shit happening right now. You've got a lot of stuff financially happening right now. You have a lot of stuff politically happening right now, and that's why I'm saying the false flags are going to be hard and fast. I really think that they're just going to steamroll through this entire month because they need to keep the public distracted, and they need to keep the public in this place of fear, and it's all pointed so asininely in the one direction, right? Like they keep pointing. It's the Islamic State. It's the, I mean, the biggest joke is the picture that came out today. The couple who purportedly, you know, massacred all those people in San Bernardino. They showed these pictures of a woman wearing the head scarf on her face all wrapped, and the guy with this very like terrible thing. This is their picture. And then someone was like, yeah, no, that's not their picture. This is them. They made a big deal saying, oh, the woman entered the United States on a Pakistani passport because she's Pakistani. And there's a picture of them at a party, and she's fully dressed in the Pakistani with the jewelry, the Indian type Pakistani jewelry. He's in a suit. And so this couple that they're saying they're blaming this on are obviously, you know, or at least she anyways, isn't even she's not Islamic, she's not Muslim. But this is where it's all blamed. We have eyewitness accounts saying, and the first reports that came out, 3 men did the shooting. Eyewitness account, it was 3 tall white men. Now all of a sudden it's, you know, it's this Islamic, it's this. It's the ISIS.
Is this the one that was initially called a mass shooting because it was accredited to white people? But then as soon as it was accredited to Islamic or
it's a terrorist.
Muslim, it becomes terrorists.
Yeah.
So, okay. So depending on your color is depending on what it's called.
Apparently. What do you say? And everyone is completely caught up in it. Everyone is completely caught up into this rhetoric. And it's really, really interesting. Rob, I don't remember if it was you who reposted it. No, it was David Hodges posted an article that I posted out a few months ago when I wrote the big article about the House of Saud and the history of the Wahhabist religion. And he reposted it today. I was like, oh, that's so perfect. Because with all the news coming out again, it's the same thing. Okay, a big news story broke today. Mainstream media talking about the fact in Germany, saying that Saudi Arabia has got to stop funding these radical Islamic jihadists. But then it awesomely goes into this whole history that what Saudi Arabia does. So Saudi Arabia, their brand, purportedly, kind of, sort of the Muslim religion is called the Wahhabist sect. But Wahhabists, the House of Saud is Jewish. They're not Arabs at all. B, the Wahhabist religion was set up by British agents back in the late 1800s, in the turn of the century, deliberately to put that house in control and to set up this whole branch of this new religion. The Saudis are funding all these mosques to be built that are Wahhabist mosques that are then being used to recruit radical Islamics and train people. And the Germans just literally came in and put it right out there in the mainstream media saying, Saudi has to stop doing this. This is not acceptable. So it's one of those things that you sit there and go, well, there's another piece. But can you get the public to look at it? Can you get the public to actually say, here's the article that says Saudi Arabia are pushing the the Wahhabist religion, building mosques, of course they've got the money, don't they, to build mosques all over the place, that are then being used as recruitment centers to brainwash people into becoming jihadists. And everyone points to the Syrian refugees, and I'm laughing because I'm like, someone put together a brilliant write-up about it, because Syrians, Assad and that a good portion of Syrians follow a smaller sect of the Muslim religion, which is called the Alawi. Okay, and I can't remember, I'm not saying that right, but Alawi, where Sharia law is against the constitution of Syria. And women don't have to wear head coverings. Women can wear whatever the fuck they want. And if they do choose to wear the head covering, it's like here in Morocco where the women just wear the pretty scarves and they go about in jeans and a t-shirt and with a scarf on their head, right? And they're pointing all of this at the Syrian refugees, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not anything to do with all the terrorism that's going on, because the terrorism that's going on is bought and paid for by the Saudis, the US, and the British through the Wahhabist faith, which is not even Islamic. So that was my rant for today. Sorry. Yeah, but they believe the narrative. I know, exactly. That's exactly it. People believe the narrative. It's just easier to hate the whole and blame them.
I came across a really nice video of a young Muslim man doing a bit of a rap. And it hopefully will make people just think, because I thought it was brilliant. I'm going to find it. I might even play it. Let me see.
There we go. Well, this is it. There's so much programming going on right now that what I don't understand is how people are compartmentalizing their knowledge. Because even people who are completely awake, so people who know Al-Qaeda was created by the CIA. Al-Nusra was created by the CIA. ISIS was created by the CIA, the US, and MI6. Okay?
I thought Israel was in on that.
Well, and the Mossad too, but they're on everything. So, I mean, really, they control the CIA. So you might as well just say CIA, but it's Mossad. Anyways. They know these things. They know it. Like, I'm talking really, really people who've been studying this stuff for years. They know this fact. And yet when there's a terrorist event that's then blamed on ISIS, they go on this rampage about anti-Islamic, anti-Muslim, etc. And I'm like, whoa, wait, back up. Remember, who is ISIS? Right? Come on, you know the answer to this. You know who ISIS is. Who funds them, who trains them, who pays for them, who arms them, who plans everything out for them, who? Right, okay, so, and then it's like, oh, well, the government, so for example, we were talking to a friend of ours, Sonia is here from Norway, and she was saying she's been doing a lot of work, and she said a lot of Norwegians are up in arms because basically the refugees come in from Syria and they get 1,500 euros a month just given to them. And I'm like, okay. But again, we go to the same thing. The same thing with the Americans, the Canadians, the French, who are all fighting about this thing. Oh, they're taking the refugees, they're giving them cell phones, and they're giving them this, and they're giving them that. I'm like, right. Did the refugees ask for that? Or did your government give it to them? So why are you mad at the refugees? Why are you not mad at your government? Your government is the one who's doing this. Why are you mad at the people who are coming in? There's this whole turnaround, and it's like people keep compartmentalizing and they get caught up in the rhetoric, and it's like, boom.
Okay,
and
there's another side to that.
Yep.
There's another side to that. And just to be fair, to put it all out there, there is a small doco that was put together, and it showed, I can't remember where it was. It might have been Norway or Sweden or somewhere like that. They'd taken over an old palace and put all the refugees in there. And there were the overwhelming majority, when you looked at the footage, now, unless the person videotaping was being very selective and being, deliberately being selective about what they shot, the overwhelming majority of people there were men in their 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trashing the place, absolutely trashing it. There was just rubbish and stuff everywhere. They were then he collected a few people. They were sitting on the grass out the front, and they were complaining about the quality of the food, not having enough money, because one guy said, I want to be able to buy my smokes and alcohol. I want money. The internet's not good enough. It's boring. There's nothing to do. And it was, so this was coming across as these are not refugees. These are deliberate plants who have mixed in with the refugees, basically. But this is what we're getting. And these people have no intention of integrating with society. There was a group of them kind of yelling and screaming at one point in the video about we will not stop until things like Allah owns the world, or until everybody's So there's a bit of that going around too. And the idea and chants that is, they're being translated by somebody, and I couldn't tell you what they're really saying either way. I have to take the word of the translation. But things like you will either convert to Islam or you will die, that kind of stuff.
Right, which is the Wahhabist religion. Wahhabist extremism out of Saudi Arabia, i.e. the country who is going to execute 59 people simultaneously across Saudi Arabia this week, and this guy has outstripped the former king and has already executed 150 people this year. So, this is a problem, and I agree, that is a problem. But again, there's the division, right? It's like, these guys are plants. Who's doing the planting?
We actually have a question, so I'm going to unmute Rob. Rob, you're welcome to come out and talk. Your mic's unmuted.
Well, you guys said it all already.
Oh.
That's why I had a breakdown this morning about this. I just can't believe I have, how many friends do we have on Facebook? I'm at like 700 and something. And I would say 70% look at my page. And then yet they keep going on about all this Muslim bashing and hate. When I have put Wahhabism on my page for 4 years, I've sporadically put that on my page and said, look, read this. This is not Islam. This is the Saud family, was created by Great Britain, stuck in power after World War II, and blah, 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 blah. It's Wahhabism. It's not Islam. You people just pay attention. So I just had it this morning and lost my mind and just got off Facebook because I got so mad. Looking through my news feed and awake people posting Muslim stuff that shouldn't be posted. They know better. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you'd hope so.
Well, here's the thing. And this is a perfect example. For example, you talked about that film, which I did watch, and the fact they show all the young men, etc. So there have been multiple pictures that have come out and gone viral on social media that purportedly are supposed to be Syrian refugees, and they show these big, buff, young guys that look like they're special forces, because they are. And they've all been debunked. The one photo that was used really rapidly during August was a photo that was taken in Australia of guys who were on tour with a soccer team, and you can see the woman standing in the picture, the official woman. It says Australia, something like a government hat with the Australia thing. And I mean, what does it take to really open your eyes and look at the picture and go, okay, why is there an Australian security guard, border guard in Germany? And it was so Anna, a friend of ours, is in Germany right now, and because she was really she's an American, she wanted to see, and she's been going all over Germany, taking notes, taking pictures, talking to people, going to the refugee camps. And she said, here's the thing, and she sent me a pile of photos that show, for example, these lineup of people lining up at this refugee camp to be processed into the refugee camp. They were there for 19 hours in the pouring rain. It was only about 10 degrees outside Celsius. They're cold, they're wet, they're hungry, and it was women and children and families, and there were old people, and there were young people, and there was everything. And she said, look, it's not just all, yeah, there's a lot of young men who go, but unfortunately, that is a lot of how immigration works. And this isn't new. This is not new. They've done this from China in the turn of the century. You send your son over because he's strong and he can go get a job, and maybe 2 jobs, and get some money saved up to bring the rest of the family over. India, they do the exact same thing. Pakistan, the Philippines. Well, okay, Philippines tends nannies a lot, but still, this is not new. You send the younger generation over, one person, because that's all you can usually afford to get to wherever it is they want to go. And the idea is they go, they're going to get a job, they're going to learn the language, and they're going to start the process to bring the rest of the family over. It happens all the time. This isn't new. So I'm a little, again, like we just keep coming into that kind of shock of like, well, wait a second. Canadians had the same rant when all the Somalis came over. And we took in all the Somali refugees. And the Canadians went fucking nuts, going, oh, well, they were doing this, and they're doing that, and they're doing this. And I'm like, okay, you just brought in these Somali refugees. You dumped them in downtown Toronto, which at this point in time is one of the most expensive cities next to New York City to live in, rent-wise, expenses, etc. So they're living 4 and 5 families in a 2-bedroom apartment because that's all they can afford when you've got that much money and it comes in and you've got to pay rent, and it's like, $2,400, $2,500 a month for rent. And then they trash the place. Well, they trash the place because there's 25 people living in the apartment. Why did the government of Canada put them in freaking downtown Toronto? Why wouldn't you send them to, like, Moncton or Winnipeg, Saskatoon? Send them to a place that is not so horrifically overcrowded, so horrifically expensive, and then they end up stuck there. No, I worked with midwives because of course, that was the work that I used to do as far as maternal and infant health. And the midwifery group that I was using when my second youngest son was born, they were doing a lot of work with refugees. So I got talking to them, and they talked about the situation of what would happen in Canada, where the refugees would come in, they'd get put in some place in like downtown Toronto. They would get this money that was given to them, their monthly expense money, which you can't even live on. There's no possible way of living. No, dog, stop biting my toe. In downtown Toronto. Then they would be stuck in a situation where they can't apply for anything. They are in basically no man's land for 2 years, where they're not residents. They haven't got their refugee status yet. They could be kicked out at any point in time, and they can't work because they're not legally there, so they can't legally work. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. That's not cool. Oh, this could be very, very uncool. Guys, can you still hear me? Put a little message in the chat if you can still hear me.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks, guys. Sorry. Apparently, my internet's going up and down. So they can't work, so they can't get a job. So they can't make more money to support their families so that they can actually get out of the crap hole that they're living in. And then what happens? We ended up with Somali gangs of young people. And yeah, it was a problem for a while. There was these Somali gangs that formed, et cetera, et cetera. But again, is it the fault of the Somali people? Yes, it is. But is it the fault of the Canadian government? Fucking rights it is. The entire situation was handled horrifically, and it still is in Canada. The people get brought over and they get dumped in frickin' Toronto. There are towns all over Canada where you can live for relatively inexpensive, and you can get a job and you can get work. Not Toronto, but that's where all the refugees end up. So, this is the whole thing. And like I said, it just seems to me that people continuously keep compartmentalizing. They get caught up in almost this rhetoric They see the social media goes wild, whether it's the San Bernardino, whatever, or it's Paris. And they get caught up in this emotional thing, and they get caught up in their friends' feeds, or the friend of the cousin of the nephew who knows someone who died there. And then they start saying stuff, and you sit there and go, why are you know how this is. You know what the background is. Why are you blaming, for example, the refugees? They're just the ones trying to get out of the war-torn country. And doesn't everyone have a right to do that? This is one of my biggest beefs, and we talked about this on the Fear and Loathing symposium on Untangled Gathering, and the fact that we're all humans. Well, some are more human than others, but whatever. We're all people. And don't everyone deserve the same thing? Doesn't everyone deserve to have the right to want a good life for themselves and their family? Doesn't everyone deserve to have a chance to live in peace with their family? Why are people falling for this whole separation thing? Why are people following for this ridiculous rhetoric where it's a continuous, non-stop? If it's not, like I said, in Canada was the Somalis back in the late 90s, and now it's, it's the Syrians now, and you know what? It was the Libyans before, and the Iraqis, and before that it was the Sri Lankans, and there's always this piece that just seems to want to push us to judge that for some reason these people don't have a right to want a better life. And don't have a right to want to go someplace better where they think they may have a better life. And it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind that people who are so awake and so aware can keep following for this continuous. And every generation there's a group. Think about it. If you go back, yep. No, yeah, hold on, guys. There's a couple of good comments just came in there. I just want to see that. Hold on. The mind control? Yeah. Well, I mean, we started off with the conversation talking about the whole Mandela effect. And we talked about the fact of people seeing that glazed over expression. We're almost like you say, it's almost like the programming is dropping in, the new programming. Oh, no, it's not. Forgive us my sins, or forgive us our trespasses. No, now it's forgive us our debts, and you watch it come in. And the fear programming and the programming on every freaking level, it seems, and it just becomes more and more clear. And it boggles my mind how people keep falling for it. I mean, the mind control stuff. Yeah, I mean, same thing. I was back down the MK Ultra rabbit hole again today, and you go, holy shit. And then you try and get people to look at the fact that this is what your government's doing. Your government has been doing this. You have the admittance, if you go into, let's not even say mind control, let's talk psychotropic. I'm back. Apparently, I dropped offline for a second. Don't know why. And like I said, my internet's been a little tutti frutti lately. MK Ultra, mind control. But you look at the psychotropics, look at the drugs, look at the chemtrails, look at the lithium. NASA has fully admitted to the fact of injecting an aerosolized lithium into the atmosphere because they wanted to look at the pretty colors. Okay, lithium is a mind-numbing, emotion-numbing drug. Basically, your entire family house could be on fire and you just don't give a shit. Lithium is also a drug that is highly active mixed with other drugs. So mixed with ibuprofen, not good. It's extremely easy to overdose on lithium. And the symptoms of overdose, mass headaches, upset stomach, a lot of stuff that's kind of going on right now. So you want to talk about simple mind control, look at even just that aspect of it. Fluoride in the water, lithium in the air, aluminum toxicity in your whole entire body. Okay? Yeah, exactly. The MK Ultra was a template. But it goes, like I said, when I went down this thing and I looked at what was going on, what was the name of the Air Force base? Hold on. The base is called, where is it? Edgewood Arsenal Human Experiments. Edgewood base in the States from during the early 70s and shit. This Operation Delirium was psychochemicals. 7,000 soldiers were inflicted with mustard gas and I can't see the name, SPHL 900. Sorry, darling, could you turn off your camera, please, love? These drugs were given to the soldiers, and like mass quantities of LSD, mass quantities of all kinds of shit, sarin gas, mustard gas, among other things. So again, it's already been proven that the government has been doing it. This isn't new, right? It's a proven fact. But can you get the people to look at the information? Yeah, go ahead, Sean. Oh, there's Lisa. Lisa, you're muted if you're talking.
I do apologize. I had a small emergency that needed my attention.
We'll forgive you, but don't let it happen again. We're talking about mind control right now. We've moved on from
goody.
Now we're talking about mind control. So we're talking about the MK Ultra and lithium and drugs and everything. Sean was just going to say something. Don, are you there? I can't see. I don't know.
Can you hear me?
There. Yes, now we can.
All right. The one thing I need to share is that sometimes there are agents that are programmed with certain matrices, okay? Now, I'm talking cubes, but with compartmentalized personalities. Now, if the cube is, let's say, a 5 by 5 by 5, that person may have the job of programming normal citizens into being a 3 by 3 by 3, or let's say people from countries without mind control into a 2 by 2 by 2. So it's actually quite complex. The alters do switch, and you know there are certain alters put in place just in case someone is able to successfully deprogram. But that was kind of the 2 cents that I wanted to give. I know for a fact that there are agents that have been programmed with multi-layers, and that their specific job is to break other people and turn them into program multiples if they weren't already. So We're talking institutionalized mind control. This isn't just the people that have been abducted and programmed and taken by the government, you know, out of their homes or put in some sort of study with LSD. I mean, we're talking about people that you would never know, walking around, look like you and me, that are meant to break everyone else and split their personalities. And that is their sole job. And they would have no idea because some of their personalities are just not aware. And those are the personalities they wear to work, wear to school. But the other personalities that are meant to program other people are so good at it, so seamless with the other personalities that they switch in and out. And if you're talking about the very complex soldiers, you're talking about people that have over 2,000 personalities. So they start sharing information with one another. That's obviously problematic for those that program them. But if someone at the lower level, like a 3 by 3 by 3, starts sharing information with the other personality, really, there's no loss at the top of the ladder. The people at the top of the pyramid could care less because these programs are more generalized, they're more institutional, they're more correlated with religious and educational practices. Whereas, you get into the military stuff, it gets, we can go into that another time, but I thought I'd share that.
No, absolutely. I'm pretty sure I've met quite a few of those people.
I was just going to say that I'm pretty sure we had quite a few of those pop into
We
my...
had quite a few of those. You know what? Here's the thing, and this is the danger of social media. And because you get people in the social media. I mean, first of all, the American government, the British government, and the Israeli government have fully admitted to psychological warfare using social media. Basically, implanted trolls and shills. So if you even just look at it at that barest perspective, there are people out there who are just there to chat and just there to, and you get, so for example, Lisa, the perfect example, I had 3 different in the last month. Oh, it's not a false flag because I know someone whose cousin's boyfriend's uncle was there and he was killed. And every single one of those people was like, do you know that person that told you that? And they were like, oh, I've known them on Facebook for a year. And I'm like, okay, great. Do you know that person? Because let's face it, we know that our groups are infiltrated. We know that Facebook is completely and totally infiltrated with people who are in there to keep pushing the various memes, pushing the separation, pushing the propaganda, the fear porn. So yeah, I mean, if you're talking about agents, even on the barest, most simplest level, they're out there.
Yep. Now, we did have somebody else with their hand up, but it looks like they've taken it down. So, mind control, yes. I missed the whole conversation, but that's okay.
Ah! Ow! Sorry, I got a puppy biting my big toe. Stop it! Seriously? And the one on my lap is waking up, so this is going to make things real interesting. But, I mean, what is the education system? Public education system is nothing more than mind control.
Mm-hmm.
What is religion? All religions.
Ditto.
Nothing more than mind control. What is political party dogma? It's nothing more than mind control. It all is, to a lesser and greater extent. But I mean, the education system is huge.
Agreed.
I'm so done with all this fucking bullshit, guys. Really?
Especially when politics or a belief in politics gets to that point of statism. And statism in and of itself is a religion, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Including, the savior meme is rife throughout it.
Oh God,
this leader will save us. This leader, this prime minister, this president, this king, this whatever.
Yeah, vote for Donald Trump. He'll save you.
He can't save himself. Christ.
Oh, he can't even save his toupee. It's all right, but it's true. It's painful to look at.
Oh my God, that's funny.
No, you know what, Jimbo, you just said it exactly there. And you know what? Jimbo just said, people think they're too smart to be caught by the con or the lie. And you know what? You're absolutely fucking correct. And I can tell you absolutely from experience, oh, no, you're not. Because we all do. We all do.
What's that famous line that it's easier to actually convince someone of a lie than it is to tell them they've been lied to?
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing and butchering it badly, but
yeah, we got the point though.
Yeah.
We got the Yeah. Oh man, I'm telling you, just no one is immune. Linda B's right. No one is immune to this shit. I mean, You learn, you get a little stronger, you become a little more savvy in what to look out for, and you move forward. And you fall down again, and then you get a little more savvy, and you see a little more clearly, and you move forward. And it just, and each time you kind of go, oh, like I said, it was so funny because I called it last week when I said, you watch, they're going to start coming out of the woodwork. And I got contacted by 2 separate people within 12 hours of each other who were, people from my recent past who are, I know, involved in certain things, and they immediately appeared and was like, oh, I'm going to try and give you some hints about this, and you're going to want to come and get involved. I know, come follow me down this trail. And I'm like, and I literally sent the one message I got from someone, and it sent it over to Lisa going, you'll never guess who just contacted me. And this is the message. And I howled laughing because it was really transparent. But the only way I got to the state of being able to see that for what it was after falling down a whole lot.
But I also think the sanest place to be, at least for me, is just accepting the fact that I don't know what I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That everything I think I know is open to change and evolution.
Interpretation. Yeah.
Well, as more information comes in, not getting too locked in. I mean, I've done a 180 on many concepts over the years, and then sometimes back around again. But it's only through, I mean, the reason I share information at all, the reason I even bother posting stuff on Facebook, the reason I do shows, the reason I do anything, because there's a difference between becoming aware, difference between aware and awake. But hopefully the awareness, the data, the info leads to or triggers something internal that triggers an awakening. So they're not the same thing. Just because you got a head full of data and you can sit there and espouse on a whole variety of subjects for days on end, doesn't make you awake, truly awake, and doesn't mean that you know anything through your own personal experience. And
that's true.
So for me, the data just serves a purpose. It's a trigger. It's a I don't know, a pebble in the path to lead you somewhere. But to know something has to be experiential for me. Otherwise, it's all open to, it's just data.
Which is always open for reinterpretation when new data swings in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the chat room's having a field day.
The chat room's just going off.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. And we're talking about bastardizing expressions. I'm going to do the same thing. There's someone help me out in the chat room. There's the expression about the difference between knowing and believing. Right? When you believe something, i.e., and you always talk about religion, etc., is a perfect example of belief, because it becomes locked in and it becomes unmutable, unchangeable, non-negotiable. And therefore, anything that comes in that has something other than that is unacceptable. And we have to remain somehow in that place of just always being open for more stuff coming in. We can't lock ourselves into this belief system of any belief, because at any moment in time, someone could bring forward a piece that changes that belief on a 180, turns it on its ear.
Sorry, I just missed what you said. I was completely drawn into the chat room.
Yeah, it's okay.
I was ignoring you completely.
You left me and I was rambling, and that's okay.
But it triggered something that I wanted to share, and I can't remember what it was.
Haha.
Isn't that funny? But someone did say that the human spirit is stronger than all this programming, and absolutely,
I agree.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that's why you have your 27 club in the first place, you know, because they all freaking break down at that point. And I think this is what everything that we're seeing, whether it's the Mandela effect, even the flat Earth, these false flags being called out within minutes. This is all of us breaking out of the programming.
Yep.
You know, and it's still hard to, although I think it's true, it's still hard to really grasp that the worse they get, and the more atrocious things get, that they're actually doing us a favor. Because every time we become clearer, we wake up a little bit more, we see, I don't know, it's almost as if I'm less invested. It's not that I don't care as much, because there's still that, but I feel a detachment to the matrix. The less and less real this feels, the more holographic and digital and programmable this feels to me, the less invested I am in it. Yep. And the more I feel I can influence it, rewrite the program. And I think our manifesting abilities are getting exponentially stronger, quicker. Maybe it's because there's more and more of us doing it. Maybe it's because of this detachment that I'm seeing it as a program. It's just as simple. It's almost as simple as, you know, upgrading an app on my computer. It's if we really kind of own the ability that we have to program this thing and not see it anymore.
Change the program.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's one of those things. When you get taught something as a fact, okay, hold on a second. Puppy, if you're going to do that, you're going back on the floor. Back on the floor you go. The puppies are all awake and I'm being attacked. I have my feet up, sitting cross-legged in hopes that I won't get my toes.
Okay, I just have a question. In the chat room, there's XAN. How do I pronounce that?
I don't
Zan?
know.
Okay.
I pronounce it Shan. Zan. There you
go. Okay. Zan wants to talk about ley lines. So as soon as you're finished saying whatever it is you were going to say, we'll bring him out.
Well, I don't remember what I was going to say, so don't worry. Go ahead. Bring him out.
Okay, you can unmute yourself, love. Oh, yes, the collective imagination will be back. We'll be back after Christmas.
Yep.
In the new year. Zan, you can unmute yourself if you'd like to.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
yep.
You can.
All right. So my point about ley lines is if we were to consider ley lines similar to the channels in our body, like vessels, you know, blood vessels, veins, and they were carrying the lifeblood of the planet, whether this be oil underneath them or other types of energetic fields. There's an energetic potential in any field. And like we are going through this awakening process, a lot of these fields have laid dormant or been used for the completely reverse purpose that they should be used for. Mm-hmm. Now, I see as this awakening is happening, that we're going to flip these like a switch. If you put too much load on a particular field, or you put too much load on a wire or a switch, it will flip. It'll turn off automatically. And I see our energy, our natural bioelectric energy, as powerful enough collectively to be able to manifest this switch. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about this, if it would be an instantaneous awakening, or we would have to catch up, if the mind would have to catch up with our energetic bodies, or if you even believe that it's possible to cause this switch if enough of us were to put our energies together collectively.
Oh, that is such a good question. And you know what? It depends on what day of the week what answer you're going to get from me on it.
I personally
Well, I do,
think that
because
switch
I
is
keep
possible.
switching back and forth. I think the switch is absolutely possible. Would it be a one-time, like all of a sudden you go, hi, whoa, what a fucking trip that was? Or a gradual, kind of like you say, like, you know, as it goes through, all of you, go away. Galloping hordes have discovered me. A gradual, like you said, almost like steps in increments, because you're going to have, if you're talking about physicality, if indeed there is such a thing as physicality, I'm sorry, I'm going to probably have to mute out. If you're talking about physicality, if it is physicality, as you play the catch-up game, right? Like exactly what you said, kind of like, you know, as the new energies come in and you kind of jump a notch, and then your body kind of catches up, which could be the screaming headaches that I've had all week. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of one particular location, and I know you guys don't want to talk about Mel or any of that, but I remember she brought up that one specific location in England where there were about 5 or 6 different lines that all met in this central vortex. And
No, I think that was Avery.
It only takes...
Avery? Was it Avery? Avery? Yep.
It was up on a hill. I don't remember which one it was, but I do remember that it was, near Cleopatra's Needle, and there was a lot of association with that area. And what I'm thinking is, just like an individual wire attached to an entire circuit board, if you cut that one wire, that circuit board doesn't function anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So if enough people focus on one particular area, one central location where a lot of ley lines met, and it could be one in the entire system of ley lines, I think that you could flip the switch. I mean, that's my intuition tells me that if enough people put enough load on one particular point, you could flip it. Now, whether, this causes change right away or over a period of 10 years is always a question of, potential and imagination, because there are a lot of mind control devices being used, right? But do you guys believe that you could possibly put enough load on one switch to flip it? Do you think that comes with intent? Do you think this can be done with physical devices?
I actually have quite a bit to say on this one. Yes, I think it was Hampstead Heath, because it was the Hampstead Heath case with the kids that brought it up in the first place. So yes, I think you're right, Mia. Okay. Michael Tellinger, in some recent talks, showed that when you look at some of the ancient structures around the planet that are on these ley lines, when you look at them from an aerial view, and you can probably find a talk that he's done and with pictures online, you compare those to a microchip, they're exactly the same, right? They look like a microchip. They look like technology. So my kind of current working hypothesis is that these structures were built way back in the day along the powerful points and ley lines, and that did in fact work as a huge computer right around the planet.
Agreed. Right.
That it was then usurped. I think when the original intent was very positive. I think it was about, it may have well been like it acted like the internet with global telepathy, essentially, right? People were
the organic internet,
and people were able to communicate telepathically and everything. And certain rituals were done, and positive rituals, healing rituals, all that sort of stuff. Then, the bad guys got in and basically started feeding this grid system with some negative stuff and doing different kinds of rituals and some bloodletting and some whatever. I think the planet itself shifted to put these ley lines out of whack, to basically do what you're saying, pull a plug on the circuit. Then we had then we have modern monuments that have built around the world, the obelisks and
Freemasonic temples, right? Lots of different.
All that stuff was to create a new grid, right? However, I still think the old grid is available. So going back to these sites, going back to these nodes where a lot of points connect, a lot of lines connect, I think they are still there and available to us. If we have the right intent for what we want to do with it, I think we could use a combination of physically gathering there using, perhaps orgonite and copper and a whole bunch of other things, as well as perhaps simultaneously an online kind of gathering as well. It happens at the same time, so everybody connects. I think that's something we could work towards pulling off.
Let me just say this. I happened to go to a gathering with one of the people that's currently on the Republican ticket for president in the United States. And that he's been up on the stage in the debates. It happened to be in one of the locations where one of these vortex points meets. Mm-hmm. That's where they chose to have this gathering. It was a pretty small gathering, probably about 25 people. It was years ago before people knew that this person would be a candidate. But albeit, it was on one of these vortex points. And there were a lot of people there that seemed to be under the influence of what we were talking about earlier, mind control type stuff. And I did bring a energetic device with me. Mm-hmm. And when I focused my intent on one of the people inside, specifically it was a woman, it was a politician that has had leadership positions in New York. I can't really say her name. I also can't say the presidential candidate's name. What I can tell you is there was a switch. There was a switch. Very uncomfortable eye movements, shady kind of micro expression, if you want to use the term. And she got up from the table. And I think these energetic devices work. I just had to give my testament. And I think that if enough people focus their intent into them, it's just like what John Carl was saying with cash stuff. All right, these are just tools. We can do this all on our own. We just have to remember. We have to become conscious and remember that we can do this on our own. These tools are just, they're playing middleman right now. And the ley line thing, I mean, there are castles built on these ley lines, and they do still do some sorts of rituals on these ley lines, Freemasonic rituals. They create sacred geometry around the vortex point. I can't say I've been there, but also can't say that I haven't seen these sort of things happen. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of validate everything. You guys are definitely on the right track with all this. So I thought I'd call in with that. But
see, the sacred geometry thing too, I really do feel that is the language. It's the mathematical language of this matrix. It doesn't feel organic to me somehow. There's aspects of this that feel very manipulated and contrived, and whether it is literally the building blocks of the language in which this whole matrix was built on, which is why it is powerful. It's why it is, that mathematically it makes sense, because it is literally the language. It's the code that it was written in. But is it the reality that we want to be in, is the question.
Well, there are no rocks that, naturally form in sacred geometric patterns, while, all these different sacred sites as well. There are sacred objects on them, but they look like they've been placed after the fact. They don't look like they were naturally there.
Yep.
The natural landscapes are organic. I mean, there are imperfections. There are all sorts of different shapes and sizes, but then you see these perfectly geometric patterns that are placed upon them. I mean, yeah, I I tend to agree with you. I think they were used for the wrong purpose, but I do think they can be used for the right purpose. And it's possible the point that someone does use them for the right purpose, it'll just, it'll cease to exist. Like, you all of a sudden remove your chakras, your energy is very organic, right? So, yeah, I agree.
You look like you're doing a magic trick. Do you want to pull a puppy out of my hat? And another one. And another one.
It's not like the clown car. How many puppies can Danny hold on her lap? I just had 4 that time, but they're all now, Nick took them down, and they're all now desperately trying to climb back up onto my chair again. I know they want to cuddle, but they're just like, it's okay if they would cuddle and just sit and sleep, but they're cuddling and fighting each other and having a big battle royale. Sorry to interrupt everyone. I've got puppy in. Not fun.
This is there's been quite a few comments in the chat room. One was, what if we are the new grid points, which is absolutely probable.
Interesting. I just had a thought.
Oh, what?
Okay, going back to computer chips and talking about power, right? And the whole thing is, how do you short circuit something? We've all seen a computer chip. If anyone has ever blown a motherboard, we all know the sadness that comes with that, right? So I'm going to go way out here. Are you ready, guys? Here we are.
Goody.
Talk in my head. We're talking about the Mandela effect. And we're talking about the people's reactions when they come face to face with these Mandela effects. What if those Mandela effects are being deliberately programmed as shock points? And it's kind of like, Zon, what you just said. You kind of used your little toy there, your little device type thing, and it had a direct effect and discombobulated the person. Well, how else do we see people discombobulated? Oh, well, we talk about the Lord's Prayer and how they've changed the words to it. And then they go through this almost like a short circuit. Is that maybe... What are you doing? Stop crying. Is that one of the process of almost like the shock therapy? A wake-up point? If you keep upping the ante and make the shocks bigger and more in your face, is that almost the same thing of shorting out the grid points? Shorting out, well, if we talk about, we've hypothesized on this before, what is it, she called it, the background people? No, backdrop people?
Backdrop, yeah.
If the backdrop people are hooked into the matrix, i.e. wired into the computer, and you want to short out the computer, if you start shorting out the leads that are going up into the computer, sending shocks up that way, is that not maybe interpreted as a way of taking down the matrix?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say that they only have a certain load capacity. Humans, without the programming, they have a much higher load capacity because we're pure energy. So we don't need this, I mean, the whole container aspect of it, the wire, the rubber that surrounds it, right? We can jump from place to place, dimension to dimension. I mean, these people clearly are contained. And because of that, you put enough shock through them, yeah, it burns the rubber, it fries the rubber, and it makes it very hard for them to re-engage in the same way they did before. I don't know if you guys have seen videos of Bill Clinton supposedly under, the mind control, and there's lots of compilations. Yeah. When they show the other politician in that video, I mean, he's taken so off guard that he can't continue the conversation. He's fried. Even if he wanted to, even if he were to put on his best face and go through his political dictionary, I mean, he would really have to reboot like a computer. And humans, I mean, we're much more adaptive than that. So, or those that aren't programmed, this artificial intelligence or the layers of programming.
Well, what's the expression we've always kind of bandied about for a couple of years about we are the energy? So if you start shorting out fuses that are in the uplink, so to speak, the uplink download, the upload download is all of a sudden got fuses shorting out, boom, 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 boom. Does that disconnect the neural network?
You know, I've thought about this Mandela effect from a couple of different angles, and somebody just posted in there about time travel, and that occurred to me too. Like, especially after watching Continuum, these things that are changing, are they markers? Like, I'm going to go back and change something, and you'll know because either it's a signpost to the future or to the now to say, I got there, I made the necessary change, and here's the marker. And so what we're seeing is all these little markers, and they're just sort of pop cultural so far, for the most part. Apart from the arguments with world leaders about who owns what and who won what in World War II.
Which could be the major changes they went back and changed.
Which could be, exactly. Because the changes, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but say, would the Mamas and the Papas be an older change from Bernstein Bears? How long have the Bernstein Bears books been around?
70s for the Bernstein Bears. So yeah, Mamas and the Papas would be older than that.
So we're starting to see them go back. So like Star Wars, 70s and 80s, Bernstein Bears, 70s.
I don't know. Those are back supposedly 2,000 years, so we really got
yeah,
far
but the
back.
changes don't seem to be.
No.
I mean,
no.
Because people are still knowing they've got copies of more recent Bibles that still say trespass. Mm-hmm. So what was Scarlet, Gone with the Wind. That would probably be the oldest one. Frankly, my dear, I don't give it.
But I mean, the other thing is the oldest one that we've seen so far, right? You know, that someone could pop up with someone and say, "Oh, Charlie Chaplin did this, and now he's doing this," you know, and that's about as old as the silver screen goes.
Yeah. So you've got the Snow White movie, which would have been even probably before Gone with the Wind. The cartoon. Mirror, Mirror.
I would say it's pretty close, yeah.
So I don't know. That's occurred to me. Whether these things are markers for time travelers. So this is, I got here, I made it, or I made it and I did what I had to do, and here's your other little marker for it.
I'm going to throw some good ones at. What if we're the time travelers that are going back and making the changes? That's why it's all like ridiculous pop culture shit, like, you know, the kind of shit that we don't like, oh, I'm going to really fuck with them. I'm going to change what Darth Vader says to Luke.
So these are things that we don't have a definitive answer for.
I would do.
You know, could it be time travel? Sure, we can make the argument for that. Could it be that timelines are merging? Yep, we can make the argument for that. Could it be that somebody is trying to reprogram and fuck with our sanity? Yeah, we can make the argument for that. Could it be, we don't have any definitive answers right now. We just know that it's happening. We're seeing the effects, but the cause is still a mystery.
I know, but you know what? Like, Linda, exactly. Maybe we're doing that in our sleep, which would be kind of like, you know, some of the things that we've hit on. I hate to say it. It's like I keep joking and saying, well, I never watched Sex and the City ever. I was a huge Buffy fan. I was a fan back in my way younger years of Interview with the Vampire books. I was, you know, I'm obviously still a huge Star Wars fan. The whole blood type, that to me always is, to me really still to this moment, is the real smack me in the head one. So Yeah, maybe we're the ones traveling back in time and setting these markers.
And it could just be the matrix breaking down.
And it could be just the matrix breaking down, and we're short-circuiting it one step at a time.
It would be if they changed something major, like imagine waking up tomorrow and, I don't know, women never got the vote or the wheel never got invented. Yeah.
We all never got invented.
Or Tesla wasn't suppressed.
Yeah, or the sky was orange. And they told us we were all on Mars, not Earth. Now that would short circuit a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Well, 2 suns, transparent moon.
Yeah, well, okay, well, so
these should be tweaking people's brains.
These should be tweaked. Exactly. But I still get people, it's lens flare. So I saw it with my own eyes. I didn't see it through a camera. I actually saw it myself. And some people can't, it's almost like there's certain places they cannot go. And to me, and I get it. I get rational disbelief. I do. I've been there myself on multiple occasions. But it seems to me that we have to literally have our minds open to every one of these aspects. Any one of these could actually be true. And if you close yourself off and set it in stone, going, okay, well, that's just, you don't remember it correctly, or that's just a lens flare, or then as soon as you do that, you're instantaneously closing off a certain pieces to expanding, to getting more understanding, or et cetera, because you just don't know. We don't know. We have no idea what reality.
Let's swamp gas. Yes.
Swamp gas.
Swamp gas and weather balloons will answer everything.
Yes. Actually, I was really totally off topic. Logan, we were walking down the street the other day, and Logan totally sat there and was like, do you know that moonlight doesn't exist? And I was like, okay, dude, what do you mean? And he goes, well, the moon is just a rock. It doesn't actually have any light of its own, so it's just sunlight. So there's no such thing as moonlight.
Did you tell him he's actually wrong on that one?
He went on a whole dissertation. He'd just been reading all about, because he just randomly picks up books and starts reading. So he just went on for about 10 minutes while he explained why the moon changes, like the quarters, the full moon, the half moon, the crescents, and what the positioning of the earth and the sunlight coming in, which is pretty damn good for an 8-year-old. So I didn't have the heart to tell him that, baby, it's just a hologram.
Well, we know that the moon is not reflected sunlight. It's completely different qualities of light. It has different effects. There's absolutely no way that it's shining because the sun's shining on it. Okay, the blue post, hand up for a wild idea contribution.
Come here, baby. Hold on.
But then I don't know what that wild idea contribution is. Yeah, I'm with you. The moonlight is not good. Moonlight is petrifying. And I mean that in it literally, not like scary. It has a completely different quality.
Dead light. It is a dead light. Here's the difference. I'll give you, for me, actually I just had this conversation today. I'm having issues with my eyes and seeing, like a lot of people, but mine have gotten really radically bad in the last little bit. Artificial light, I can no longer see properly by. So if I'm doing something like, for example, one of the kids has got a splinter, so you need to be able to see really tight to see what you're doing to remove the splinter, I have to take them outside into daylight, into sunlight. Sunlight, I can see perfectly fine. I come into artificial light, my eyes just don't want to see. And moonlight is the same light as this fucking shit. To me, the feeling, it's a cold, dead, completely, yeah. That's the light from the moon.
And if you haven't seen it yet, there's actually a great Australian animated film called Legend of the Guardians, about owls. And
Oh, I've seen
I
that.
brought this up with David Icke ages ago. He'd never heard of it or seen it. He was very excited because this all goes into part of my little theory about the moon anyway. But in the film, owls, which are nocturnal animals, are put into a position where they have to stare up at the moon at night and go to sleep looking at the moon, and they become moon-burnt, which is zombies. They just become these zombie drones who do as they're told.
Huh.
I think it's a very revealing little animation, personally. So if you haven't seen it, Legend of the Guardians.
Legend of the Guardians?
It's on Netflix if you've got Netflix. Or I'm sure you could download a torrent. But yeah, Legend of the Guardians. I'll add it to the chat room here. Legend. It's what's his name? Hugo Weaving does one of the main voices for it. But it's a good one. Now we've only got a couple of minutes left, but I wanted to bring Blue. Did you have something you wanted to come out and share?
Yes. I'm sorry, my message was confusing. I wasn't sure how to put my hand up to contribute a wild idea.
Well, let's hear it.
Let's hear it. I'm all for wild ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a perfect invitation. All right, this is my latest wild idea. All right. And for some reason, I took the term memory complex and translated it in my own way. And this is what I came up with. I got this sense that the past and the future has been designed and put into an artificial intelligence that I'm naming as the memory complex. And when I thought about that, I realized that, well, hey, if past and future are already designed in this artificial intelligence, then that would explain why we hear about teleportation or going into the future or going into the past to change it, because it's already been designed and it already has captured the past and the future, so it can be manipulated. So I identified those as memory complexes. And then the other stream that came to me was that those who are, I call them the wizards. The wizards who designed this are actually one step behind spirit or source, in that they are not in this present moment. They are not in the here and now. And that's why they've distracted us so severely from this here and now. Because when we are present and we're not regurgitating the past and we're not losing ourselves in hopelessness, hopefulness of the future, we are in the first step. And that's where they can't exist. And I'll just say, I recently just posted an article earlier today about this wild idea.
Can you drop the link in for us?
Yes, I will.
I need to chew on that.
Yeah, I thought at least I thought that one was right up your alley.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She's gone.
Here you got it, right? Prefabricated little memory complexes. They got full control over that. But in this here and now, they can't move that quickly because they don't know what's going to happen in the now moment.
Because every now moment can take any change.
Yeah,
exactly.
To me, there is no future set in stone. It's all just probabilities.
Right.
And
that's why they have control over it.
So it's always the now moment that creates the next now moment. And manipulating the now moment, which they can't. Yeah, okay. I'm
Okay.
yeah, I'm chewing.
Okay.
I'm feeling on that one. That's really interesting, Blue. I like that. Thank you for sharing that. That's gonna have me sitting there going,
Because last week
Okay.
or the week before, I don't know, before,
And
I said something along the lines of my current working hypothesis on this particular thing is that there is no, like I said, there is no future set in stone. It's a series of probabilities, and that when we set forth a desire, an intent, it's actually spirit source that immediately goes to work creating that with, how can I put it? The most direct line from A to B
in a straight line.
in a straight line, but infused with all the feelings and the intentions that you had in that moment. And if you divert from that, then you instantaneously create another probability or another route to getting from A to B. And it will always get you to B, but how long it takes, how difficult the road, how many experiences along the way, all of that is being created in every now moment as well, depending on how purely you can stay in the state of the original intent, when you made the original intent.
and your original intent is perfectly in alignment with spirit and source. So you will be fulfilled. But when we operate in past or future, we're manipulating the matrix field that they have under control.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't touch us in the moment. Unless, like, they can touch you in the moment if they get you distracted and they get you to respond or react. Now you're back in their field.
Then you can change. Then it may waver your intent, therefore changing the path that you're taking.
Right. And if you don't think about your intent and just trust, you're in perfect alignment with spirit. And spirit knows exactly who you are and what your affinities are. If you don't even go as far as naming them, because naming is their field as well. But you stay in the sensation. Lily spoke to this in her last recording. You stay in the sensation of presence and allow spirit to drive this vessel. They can't touch you.
I'm with you.
Because you're not entering names, words, conditions. You're not asking for anything from out there. You're trusting spirit will emerge and provide exactly what you need in each and every moment. Spirit knows your body. It knows when it's hungry. It will provide the moment. In the moment, you'll have the impulse to feed yourself.
And then
In the
makes to
moment,
do so.
right? In the moment, you'll have the impulse to go food shopping. Your body's tired. You don't even think I'm tired. Spirit will come through body, and body will go towards rest.
Oh, it's been doing a lot of that lately.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I did put that link in the chat room, and if I may say, on Get Lit this Thursday, that's the topic of my conversation.
Nice.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have to start saying our goodbyes. So,
Yeah. Because
I
speaking of anything, it's tired.
yeah. I want to thank our studio audience again. Great questions. Great conversation, as always. So just try to remember from next week, if you're able to, oh, my video's all delayed.
Yes, you got this. Oh, you got a great face on
Haven't
right now.
Haven't I just? Okay, I'm actually watching myself in delay.
I'm going to screenshot it. Shit, I didn't get a chance to. 7 puppies on my lap, so I couldn't screenshot it.
Okay, I think I'm caught up. Next week, if I can't figure it out from this end, hang on, it's done it again. Stop it. If I can't figure it out from this end, just try to remember to join the call with your cameras and microphones off. That would be great. And I guess we'll see you again next week. And who knows what's going to be going on here? I don't know, but we'll get this archive done as quickly as possible. So thank you, everybody. Great conversation again. Yeah. And I think we need to play a little bit with this idea of that we are the new computer chips, for want of a better word. That we are the power source to this network.
You're the chips that make the old chips obsolete.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. And I will talk to everybody soon, I'm sure. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
Hello and welcome to the One People Show.